doctor.
Save up to 35% on your contribution with Momentum Health.
Welcome back. Your medical scheme membership fees have gone up yet again. Is it worth it, or should you rather think of taking out medical insurance? That's a question many younger, healthier people are asking, especially those who are buckling under bond and car repayments on top of other expenses. All those who've reached the end of their medical savings accounts by the middle of the year. I roped in a friend who also happens to be part of the leadership team at Momentum Health to guide our thinking and answer some of those prevalent questions. Damien, it's great to have you in studio.
Thanks, Michael.
Welcome.
Thanks very much.
Our government reckons 8 million, only 8 million South Africans are on some form of medical aid. Now, why is that? Do you think it's an affordability issue, or do you think most South Africans don't feel they need medical cover?
It's probably a bit of both, Michael. I think we've seen the cost of health insurance and medical aid schemes kind of accelerate beyond normal inflation. So the result of that is it's eating more into our spend. So the ability for us to continue to be able to afford the type of comprehensive cover we need becomes too expensive. So people opt out. They opt for other alternatives, the health insurance type of products. And people just don't think. I think the younger people think, oh, I'm bulletproof. I'm never going to get sick. I'm great. So, and they don't buy it. I haven't seen a
doctor in years, and
I don't buy it. And the reality of that is when they need it, it's not always that easy to get it then.
So let's talk about that. Why don't I just join a medical scheme as soon as I get ill? I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, but the medical schemes have the ability to protect it. It's the same way if I said to you, give me 1,000 Rand, everyone here in the studio audience, give me 1,000 Rand a month and you can go shopping for as much as you want to Pick n Pay. How many of them would only spend 1,000 Rand? The reality of that is they'll, maybe the first time until they see their friend in their trolley spending 2,000 Rand, think, but hold on, I spent 1,000, got 1,000, this I spent 1,000, got 2,000. The reality with medical aids is exactly that. We're non-profit organisations, so the more people spend out of them, we need other people who are not spending out of them. So if you're only going to allow people who are sick to join, they won't last very long at all.
So let's talk the difference then between medical aid and medical insurance. What is the difference? What are the factors? What should we be looking at?
The two main components. Medical aid companies, if you like, are governed by a certain set of regulation, and that regulation requires us to have a certain amount of money available to be able to pay claims. We have to cover certain basic components. We call them the PMBs, or prescribed minimum benefits. So there's things like chronic and hospital and other things that we have to cover. No matter what option you're on, those things have to be covered. Medical insurance is different. It doesn't have to cover all of those components. So what you'll often find in medical insurance is it will be what we call a hospital cash plan. For every day I spend in hospital, I get 300 Rand back. Now that might be great if you're having your appendix out. It's not so great if you're having a cardiac event.
Right, yeah.
So you have to be very careful when you're buying medical insurance because it's not a medical aid. And a lot of people opt out of medical aids thinking, well, I'll buy medical insurance because they're much cheaper. They're not governed by the same set of regulations. They're not having to cover chronic illnesses or whatever. So the insurance plans that you can buy are different. There are things that cover dread disease, as an example. There are things that cover hospitals. So you must be very careful when you're opting out of a medical scheme into medical insurance because the rules around them are different. They're also not under the same financial requirements. They don't have to carry reserves, which are the members' money. That profit goes to the insurer. In a medical scheme, the profit made in the scheme belongs to the members. It builds up the reserve in the members.
Okay. So it makes sense that you'd want to get a medical aid. I mean, should you have both? Could you have both?
Absolutely. There are products which will, if you like, couple together, which will make your insurance more comprehensive. We often see that in the hospital area. Medical schemes often only cover 100% of what's called the medical aid rate.
Explain this to me, Damien. I mean, that doesn't make sense that, I'm 100% covered for my hospital cover, but that doesn't cover all my costs,
Being a doctor yourself, you know that the guys who specialise, there are not that many of them. In some cases, we have a real undersupply of that kind of medical provider within the South African context. Now, to say to that guy, you're only allowed to charge this member 100 Rand or 200 Rand when he's the only type of person like that, a paediatric neurosurgeon is going to go, but hold on a second, it's only me in South Africa. So we have an undersupply of doctors in our environment, and we need that speciality skill. If we force those people to be only collecting a certain amount of money, they might end up going other countries in the world. And as a result of that, we then have even more undersupply. So we've got to get a balance within that environment. We cannot always, as medical schemes, pay everything that the provider environments require. And we try and marry those two together. There's lots of negotiations between the two parties to try and make sure that members are the ones that are not out of pocket. It's not always the case. So medical schemes will tell you what they cover. Doctors have the ability, or specialists have the ability, to charge above those values. And then you can find yourself out of pocket. And that's where you see some of these insurance products come in and say, all right, well, the medical scheme pays up to this point, we'll cover above. So you're talking about how do the two things combine? It often works that way.
Okay. So looking at factors that I need to take into account, you know, family, kids, all that sort of thing, what should we be looking at when deciding what kind of medical cover we need? What are the biggies?
For me, it's not about necessarily how big your family is. It's what your need is. And I mean, I use a very simple analogy when I talk to clients and members about it. And I know we're in the Cape today, but I mean, if we were driving, as all the Gautengers do now, invading the coastal areas over the holiday periods and driving back after them and so on, the reality of what happens is, think of it buying a car. So if I'm going to go on holiday and I'm going to go drive from Joburg to Durban, and I can give everybody money for that car, they give me the car back when they get to their holiday, and I said, oh, you got R500,000. You know, the guys will go, R500,000, sports car, top down. The ladies are thinking, well, I'll spend whatever I can to like 80,000 Rand, and then I'll buy the rest shoes, you know. So you kind of get a different set of needs.
That's a generalization,
it is,
Damon,
and it's a good one, though. But you kind of get a different need based upon what individual people have. So if I said to everybody, if you're single, and if I asked your whole studio audience, if they're single, how many of them would buy a Kombi? And they'd all go, there's no way. And if I asked them, well, if you've got a family of 10, how many of you will buy an Uno? And no disrespect to anybody's vehicle, but we would all go, there's no way, because mother-in-law's on the roof rack, and that might appeal to some of them. But, you know, your kids are attached with Heelys on the bumpers, you know, to try and fit the whole family in. But you talk about, well, I run out of my savings in February. Well, why are you buying that car? It's the wrong one for you. You should be looking at something else. And pretty much every medical scheme has different sets of options which cater for different needs of people. The trick, I think, that the medical scheme industry has missed for a long period of time is we've kind of boxed people saying you are unhealthy by this, you are healthy by that. And we haven't taken into account of an older healthy person or a younger sicker person or someone who's just risk averse and want to just insure a little bit more. And what we really should be doing is, Henry Ford said to us, you can have any color car you like as long as it's black. And that's kind of what the medical scheme industry has become. You can have anything you like as long as it looks like this. And we haven't actually catered for the differing needs of what people look for. And what we've tried to do within the Momentum products is try to build and attach components to it that make us able to make a product or an option suit your needs better based upon what your need is. So you might be a young, healthy family of 8 is very different from a really sick family of 2. And you might end up buying the same option, but for different reasons. And what can we bolt on? You know, I drop my kids off at school, as I guess you do, Michael. I don't ever see moms and dads dropping their kids off with trailers. I never see a kid get out of a car, open the back of the trailer, open up the trailer, grab your suitcase out, because moms and dads reversing trailers around schools would be horrific.
Disastrous, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I see lots of trailers going on holiday. And similarly, the products in our industry need to start to cater for when I need them, bolt other components on. And I think, you know, for young people in our environment, in our audiences, in, you know, just watching the show, they should be thinking about, let me get in a medical scheme today. I'll buy a cheap one today. As my needs go, I'll add the trailer, I'll add the roof rack, I'll add the components that I require. I'll change it to leather inside and electric windows. And I add the components that make sense for me as my time changes, as my needs change. So you say, what are the big ones? I think, you know, what type of hospital cover do you need? Or, you know, those are the risky areas. And a lot of young people will buy the high-end hospital insurance because that's where they're worried about their costs. You know, am I chronic? You know, what type of chronic cover do I require? And often when I speak to the guys who are making the decision for the families, they forget. Yes, my wife is chronic. They don't even care. No, I'm healthy. They don't even think about the needs of their whole family. You know, well, I'm getting married next year. Well, have you asked your wife what, you know, the issues are? So it's a lot of those types of things that we all have the opportunity every year in the health industry to make those choices. Think about what your actual need is, and then build the plan around you that suits you.
Brilliant. Damon, fantastic insights. Thank you very, very much. I hear a lot of ums and nods from the audience, which is great. So you make good sense. You really do. There is medical aid cover or medical insurance, if you like, to suit just about everybody's pocket, and you owe it to your family to ensure that you're covered so that you can get the best possible medical care when you need it most. Don't put yourself in a position that'll make you turn around one day and say, if only.
Your healthcare needs are unique, and so is our offering.
I want to live the best life.